Hello, everyone, and we got some interesting news for you. For all you XRP fans that don't know, we actually have a spot XRP ETF launching on the 18th on Friday. It's not a regular ETF, it's that Rex Osprey ETF. Remember, there was a big thing about them actually launching a Solana staking ETF and then launching a Doge ETF this Friday. Now, I don't think the XRP ETF is going to have staking, but it might still generate some interest because the Solana ETF has resulted in over $220 million worth of investments from institutional grade investors and big retailers. And it's going to be several months before the usual XRP ETF gets into play. So I've asked AI, has the XRP Rex Osprey ETF been launched? And this is a spot ETF. No, the Rex Osprey Spot XRP ETF is not launched yet, but it is scheduled to begin trading on September 18th, which I do believe is, it's Thursday. Sorry, it's not Friday, it's Thursday. After being delayed from its initial target date of September 12th, which I do believe was this Friday, yes. The ETF received SEC approval after a 75-day review period without objections, and it will be the first spot XRP ETF in the United States, allowing investors to gain direct exposure to XRP through traditional brokerage accounts. Pretty big. I think this will be a gauge to see how much demand there is for an actual spot XRP ETF, even though it's not one under the 1933 Act and it's under the 1940s Act. Remember, still over $200 million was bought of the Solana ETF under the same act, although that one does have staking. If there's not that much demand on the XRP ETF and the Rex Osprey, I don't expect the regular XRP ETF to have much demand either. And we'll see if how much staking actually matters, because if there's demand on the Solana ETF right now, which there is, and no demand on the XRP ETF, that means I think staking was the difference, because the XRP ETF has a really big community that would actually support something like this. So the ETF was approved by the US SEC after completing its mandatory 75-day review period without any issues. Unlike futures-based products, this ETF will hold the underlying XRP token directly, providing investors with a direct exposure to its price. Now, this could be another small pump because Solana has done very, very well since the staking ETF has come out in July. But I do think the staking is a big deal because obviously the staking will allow you to earn a passive ROI while you hold an ETF, while one without staking will not. So obviously, big institutions will see that as very important because when you're investing a ton of money into something like this, getting an ROI, a passive ROI, and not getting one makes a huge difference. It might not make difference for us. We have $2,000 or something, and we're literally getting $20 a year, which still is nice to get. But if you're investing hundreds of millions of dollars in this ETF, then it's millions of dollars. So it makes a pretty big difference whether it has staking or not. And we'll see staking versus not staking. I think it's going to be a pretty big difference. So the 75-day window for review has actually passed. And it's not only the XRP ETF that Rex Osprey is launching. They also have a Bonk ETF in case institutional investors want to invest in Bonk. I don't know if that's going to get any demand, but if it does, Bonk is going crazy. Of course, Doge ETF just launched. They also have a Trump ETF. I don't think anyone should buy the Trump ETF because I think that coin's going straight down. That is essentially a grifting play by Donald Trump to raise money for himself. Well, not to raise money, just to grift money for himself. Like I said, I'm not really that high on the Bonk ETF either, although that one actually might have a little bit of fuel behind it. So yeah, this is a 1940s Act ETF, which doesn't directly invest fully in spot. Balchunas said, so long as the SEC doesn't say anything, you can let it launch 75 days after filing, and the SEC has not actually said anything. But it is still a spot ETF. It just works a little bit differently from the 1933 spot ETF. So unless the SEC raises a last-minute objection, the funds are set to list this week. Balchunas said, as most U.S. ETFs are organized under the 40s Act, functioning as open-end investment companies that can hold securities such as futures-based funds. By contrast, 33 Act ETFs are typically used for physically backed commodities, including spot and gold products. But once again, this particular one is a spot XRP fund. So This one actually can launch much sooner than the other ones, which is a big deal. And I think this will be a really good gauge on like how much demand each of these ETFs actually have. In notices published on Wednesday, the SEC said it needs additional time to evaluate proposals that allow staking for Ether within the funds. The agency also postponed decisions on XRP and Solana ETFs, but those are just like extra ETFs. I think, and those are the 33 ETFs as well. Earlier this week, the SEC pushed back its decisions on Bitwise's proposed Dogecoin ETF and Grayscale's Hedera ETF, setting a new deadline of November 12th. So I think the actual 33 Act ETFs are going to come through next month, but this should come through on Friday, and we will see how much demand that the XRP non-staking ETF has, because once again, I do think staking does actually make a big deal. So the Coinbase hacker that stole $300 million has actually made a move, and he actually bought $18.9 million of Ethereum. It seems like everyone, institutions, retail investors, and hackers all want to buy Ethereum. So that's actually good news for Ethereum. So a wallet tied to the $300 million Coinbase hack bought 3,976 Ether for $18.9 million. So even after this, he's got about $280 million left of his hacked funds to buy, doubling down on Ethereum and its recent push above 4,700 level. Now, obviously, if this hacker gets caught, which I don't think he will, he might be forced to sell that Ethereum. So got to be wary of that. But anyways, right now, it does actually help Ethereum's price. A crypto wallet linked to an infamous Coinbase hacker was bought another 3,976 Ether worth $18.9 million. So he bought at $4,756 a token. That's probably why it went up quite a bit more yesterday night. I think it's come down a little bit now, but yeah, it's 4,652. So I think it did get sold down a little bit. Bitcoin did come down a little bit from like 116,000 last night too. So it's probably part of the reason it came down a little bit as well. So basically, this hack did actually happen in May, and he defrauded victims out of $330 million. And they say the number is actually much lower than the actual amount. So this hacker is actually making moves, making crypto trades, and obviously these on-chain sleuths are tracking him. Maybe they will be able to basically hunt him down via this. But he is buying Ethereum. Obviously, he believes in Ethereum as well. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting piece of news that he's actually making moves and like an insight into what he's buying. CZ is actually at it again. He wants banks to adopt BNB because now it has actually surpassed UBS's market cap. And these crypto caps are going really high, surpassing some of the world's biggest banks and companies, obviously. So obviously BNB has a couple of regulation issues, especially in the United States. And realistically, you can see right now that the whole CZ promise to not meddle with Binance affairs for 3 years, that was all basically BS. He also got a pardon as well, so not really sure if anything's really going to hold him back. He is still promoting Binance and BNB. So CZ, founder of Binance, has once again made a spark in the crypto world through his urging of traditional banks to adopt BNB, the native token of the Binance ecosystem. His message comes shortly after reports showed BNB's market cap had grown larger than that of United Bank of Switzerland, or UBS, the world's biggest private bank. BNB coin has been widely adopted in decentralized finance platforms and exchanges because it is faster and cheaper compared to many other blockchains. And outside the United States, and even in the United States, Kraken does actually have BNB, and it is like the fourth largest crypto out there. Also, I've said this before, BNB has a more solidified use case than just about any other crypto because it is directly useful on Binance, because it actually reduces transaction costs and it gets you inroads into their launchpad system, which is much more utility than just about any other coin. For banks, this technology could be useful in areas like global payments and digital assets, where low charges and high speed are important, unlike traditional systems where generally cost high fees and days period for transactions, slow and expensive. BNB-based transfers are designed to be rapid and low cost. Now, you can argue like which one of these blockchains is the cheapest and fastest. Honestly, like as long as it's cheap and fast enough, it probably doesn't matter all that much. Binance Coin is getting attention from big companies, similar to how Bitcoin became popular with the business in 2020 to 2021. Nanolabs, a Nasdaq-listed firm, announced plans to buy up to $1 billion in BNB asset after CEA Industries and Windtree Therapeutics' recent purchases. So you do have big institutions wanting to buy Binance. One of the reasons, obviously, is because of the Binance coin burns right now. They have about 139 million tokens in circulation. Remember, Binance wants that number down to 100 million. So eventually they're going to burn 39 million tokens, which is a significant amount. I think it's about like maybe 26, 27% of their total tokens. So if a company spends 100 million to buy the asset, it takes away about 0.7 of the tradable supply, which makes the token more scarce. Once again, I think buying this token is actually a good idea because it is one of the best performing tokens out there. It's at $928.09 right now. And it keeps breaking all-time highs. Now, Binance's breaking all-time highs aren't explosive breakings of all-time highs. Like it started about 650, went up to 700, then 720, then 750, then 800, then 850, now over 900. So it's step by step. So some people might thumb their nose at that, like I want 20x at once. But if you look at the overall performance, Binance is one of the few that has kind of kept up with Bitcoin, although still lags behind a little bit. If you remember, Bitcoin's all-time high last time was about 69K. Now it's 115K, a little less than 2x. Binance's last time all-time high was about $600, and now it's $927, so it's about plus 55%. It's keeping up pretty well. And then you look at other coins like Ethereum, it did reach an all-time high of 4,900, but last time, like the all-time high was 4,800, so it barely reached its all-time high. XRP's last time all-time high was 392, which was 8 years ago. Has not actually quite made that yet. It depends on which exchange you look at, but overall in the congregate on Live Coin Watch, it is not. Solana has reached 293, but like its previous all-time high was like 250 something or 260 something. Doge has not reached its all-time high. Cardano has not reached its all-time high. So if you really just look at that, Binance cycle to cycle has easily outperformed all of those coins. And for like a longer term investor, you have a coin with very, very solid utility with millions of people that use the exchange. The biggest exchange in the world has a lot of financial power. Basically, like, people call Binance Tether, like Binance dollars, has a lot of Tether transaction, has a lot of sway in the industry. So BNB is a solid investment. And I think like some banks, not all of them obviously, some banks, the more risky ones, will be inclined to buy some BNB, and that'll push up the price of BNB some more. And plus, when they do research on BNB, they're going to realize that Binance actually spends their profits to buy BNB back and burn them. And they've burned a significant amount with respect to supply using their profits, and they're going to keep doing that until they get 100 million coins, down from 140 million. So then minus 40 million coins will make their coin much, much scarcer as well. So yeah, that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button, and I will see you guys next time.